Okay, so you guys can see my screen, right? Okay, so this is basically the team portion, and as I kind of hinted to as you guys were doing it, you've completed individually the same case, whichever case that is that you guys chose. And basically what you're going to do now as you come down through here is you're going to take the best of the three papers, or one of those in your front part where you're describing your case summary, basically is what I call it. Then the next one, yeah, and then you're going to look at your problems and your problem statements and your the root cause. Okay, and look down into where the root cause is, just like you have in the two individual sections. But now you're going to take that data that you've gotten from the three of you, and now I'm going to compare who came, basically what root causes you came up with, what problems, secondary issues you might have had, okay, and kind of list those out. And if it's in a perfect world, you all agree on the root cause, okay, and one of you might have missed a secondary issue or a primary issue that related to the root cause. You bring those into play, marry the document up. You also have, then you guys will decide on a united, after you've decided and refined that section, you're going to go ahead now and actually pull in and then pull in what you think your solution should be. And this is where there should be some give and take between the group. Okay, so you got, one problem, one person might say it's develop a training program. Another one might say we need to do something to improve with morale with, and maybe it's a combination of both is what you end up with. It's one of those where you need to list those possible courses of action. But when you get down there, you want to list all those out in that section. And then what you're going to want to do is bring that together with your solid recommendation plan. So basically, you're going to list out for between all of you. You probably have come up with a good half dozen ways to tackle this problem. And then what you're going to do is recommend a course of action based on that. Okay, and including in that should be some goals, benchmarks, how they can tell when they've made that improvement. Okay, and how those should flow. And at the end, you just basically at the very end, you have a summary that kind of brings it all together, kind of like the closing sales pitch is what I call it. So, but the important thing is, just like it said here, is making sure that you list your possible actions, all of them. Okay, it's kind of like I've been saying all along. You want to make sure that you do actually bring all of those courses of action together, and then decide, and then basically put down why you ruled them out. It's the same type of thing I would do if I was if I was consulting for a firm for any one of these cases. I'll present them with a bunch of alternatives, and I'll go, this is why I don't think this is going to work. This is why I think this is a better solution. This last part that I spend a lot of time talking on, your courses of action and your actual recommendations all the way to the setting, that's going to be a quarter to a third of your paper. Okay, your combined paper. Now you only have to turn in one paper for all this. Okay, just one. I'll be posting up tomorrow because I got to pull it from another course. In here, you'll see also in here, you'll see a place where you'll be able to put a peer review. It's a pretty simple peer review, but and if everybody contributed equally, that's great. But if you got somebody who's a slacker in the group, and occasionally we do have that happen, not as often in the grad courses, but we do occasionally do. That's your place to let me know that feedback. And then I do adjust the scores accordingly. Especially if it's a group of two, if it's a group of three and two out of the three said, yeah, this guy's really slacking, then I will definitely adjust the score of that third person. So questions on this part, guys? Any questions you got as this? You good on this? Okay. All right. So we're going to move into, I'm going to come over here, and now I'm going to go to one more section before I go to, before I go back to the other part. Is here we have the people section here. You guys have groups over here. If you looked at, if you guys take a look at this, this is where you found your group pairings, I guess, if you want, or triplets, if you want to, as you go in here. Did you guys know that you can click on this? And when you, it actually will take you into, you can actually go over here and visit the group homepage. And what you have here is there's no messages in here, but this acts just so like, this is a mini canvas in here for you guys. So you could actually do your whole document in here under files, just like you would necessarily Google Docs. So if you want to share this, as opposed to going back and forth with email between the document, you could actually upload those files into here, and the other person can pull them right back down. So if you, so this is a way that you could actually, you can actually email yourselves between them. You can start your own discussion boards in there. If you wanted to go, if you're bouncing ideas off each other, instead of texting back and forth. It's just a tool that you guys could use, but I usually like to point that out because that's that is an advantage here of this. So you actually, for this project, you have your own little shell. You actually even have the access to add a conference and go in and actually do this video conference from within inside here. So so that's just a way to look at things. You usually get about one or two groups that decide to use it. It's not, it's good because everything's in one place for you. And then, you know, even if you do nothing but the file share, I think that's worth it because, you know, bouncing that paper back and forth can get a little wieldy, and you guys can make the edits and then save it right there, and the other person can pick it up. All right, so let's go back here. As soon as my computer works here. Okay. So then we'll go down to the last big thing we have, which is coming right up, actually coming up pretty quickly, is the research paper. Okay. So research paper, this research paper is a, basically it's a dive into a topic that we may or may not have covered. Okay. It may be a topic that we covered a little bit and you think you might want to copy, you might want to dive into a little bit more. So what you're basically going to do, it is pretty much a standard research paper, but what you're looking at doing is grabbing a topic, and these are merely the tip of the iceberg as far as that goes. Anything in the book is free game. Anything that you want to, and I think both of you had OB with me in the undergrad, so you'll recognize that this is kind of similar to this. The difference in it being that this is going to be much more in depth. Okay. And the topics are probably a little, or the topics I have here are a little broader. Okay. The ones that are in the undergrad are a little more specific. These here are definitely very broad, so you're going to be able to bring and hone those down. So you can take a look at general topics such as diversity in the workplace, changing cultures, you know, global environment, so those types of things. You can look at group work. Actually, I haven't added it in here yet, but I'm going to give a few topics in the virtual world, because that's actually something now that's coming up in the limelight, to be able to, you know, to be looking at doing is the virtual aspect of it. So anything that we've touched on in the course that you want to expand on, or something that you just see as a really good, interesting topic, is basically what you're going to, what you can grab onto. Now, this upcoming week, basically, I'm just asking for your topic, not asking for anything great. You'll see that post up there is just, I want to make sure that you picked a topic and that you're working on it. Because this here is the way this works is little APA guidelines. This is a typical standard APA research paper. Okay. And you're going to be looking at roughly, okay, this, I think I put in the 7 to 10 page range. Okay. So you're looking at diving into a topic pretty extensively. That's why it's worth quite a bit of the credit. This one here will need an executive summary. Okay. If you look at it on if you look at the APA formatting, you'll see also it says an abstract. Basically, an abstract, executive summary, they're fairly similar. The major difference being an abstract really kind of just barely glazes over the outline of your paper. Whereas the executive summary is more about, you're going to talk about the purpose. You're actually giving a Cliff Notes version of the paper, okay? Where you're going to condense that down into roughly about a page, okay, of all those points that you're going to bring up in the background. The abstract is more of a kind of an outline structure, where you would actually be doing, you're outlining what you're covering. Here, you're going through, this is kind of like literally shrinking it down to a page. So that's why they call it the executive summary. So it's to take all this, this 10 pages of research that you got and condense it down into a page, because that's what people, it's also what I call, both of these are what I call the elevator speeches of research, okay? Which means you got that one page to convince me that I want to read the other 10. Now, mind you, I'm going to read your other 10, okay? But if it's with somebody from purely the outside, you're going to want somebody to just go ahead and take a look at that and go, yeah, this interests me. Let me go ahead and read that, okay? So that's kind of, and I've got just this at the end here, just this little bit of a summary of how to do it. There's a link there on how to write one. The OWL also has one, an OWL kind of a one if you're having trouble with the executive summary piece. But it needs to contain these three things, are what I'm looking at, is the purpose of the report, the highlights of your research, okay, and basically where you think you would use this, okay, or where this could be used, not necessarily where you would use it, but where it could be used. So it could be, might be to look at, costing, time savings, might be labor savings, it might be better way of doing things, might be better structure, depending on what your topics are. So questions here, guys?
Does the executive summary go at the beginning of the paper or the end of the paper?
No, it would go at the beginning. It
Okay.
goes in place of where if you look at the APA style, it's going to go right in place of your executives. The executive summary goes right in place where your abstract would go.
Okay.
And you won't need to do it. I don't require a table of contents for this one. That's but you'll still need you'll need pretty much everything else there except the table of contents. And you're taking out the abstract of what it would be in the standard format and putting in an executive summary. Because an executive summary is more business writing, guys. That's going to be more about if you were writing this, if you're putting this on a, for instance, a feasibility study, works very much like this research paper would. So at the beginning, you're going to put in the executive summary to talk about your feasibility of that particular project. And if that's what you would go. So you want to get that practice of putting all that condensing down into that one summary. And it works, like I said, it works a little bit different than the abstract, which is more like an outline. So that's why the executive summary becomes really important, because typically and I've done a dozen or 15 of these over the years of feasibility studies. of if I'm looking at making strategy changes or those types of things. Also, before we started a new project or we're looking at expansion, we do a feasibility study to make sure that it's feasible, that we can afford it, but also to make sure it can go. I mean, to make sure that of all the negatives that you're considering. So, any other questions, guys? And if not, I'll kill the, let me stop the screen share here in the video.